Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and I got another comic book haul for you. This is actually a comic book haul and CGC, well, not unboxing, but I guess CGC arrival. I already opened them up. I know the grades, but I'm going to share them with you. So let's start off with the haul portion of the video first, and I do have some Silver Age books to show you, as well as a big Golden Age pickup. So let's begin with a little Marvel. And a lot of these books you're going to see today actually came from the same seller. There was a seller that I found on one of the mobile marketplaces that was trying to unload a lot of Silver Age books and even some Golden Age books. And it was a great opportunity for me to pick up some books that I wanted for a long time at a reasonable price. This has been an awesome seller for me, willing to negotiate, willing to package things together in groups. Really awesome. I'm going to show you some of the books I got today from that seller. And I do have some more for future videos too, but we'll begin with the Amazing-Spiderman 49. And all of the books that I got from this seller are very nice grades. I mean, higher mid grades, I would say, for most of these books. This one, classic cover here with, of course, Kraven the Hunter and the Vulture. And I'll bring this up a little bit closer so you can see it. But I mean, the spine is actually really nice on this book. You got your ticks and a little wear around the edges and corners. You would expect that, right, when it comes to the Silver Age books, unless you get really lucky. But this is an amazing grade. I'm going to get this graded at some point, and I will let you know what the grade comes back as when I do. But that's just the first one. Let's stick with Spider-Man, because I got a few more of these. This is Spider-Man 54. And, yeah, Dr. Octopus, Aunt May cover. And again, kind of the same condition. Some spine ticks, a little wear around the edges and the corners, but overall, just a really fantastic looking book. The colors really pop on all these books that I have gotten from this seller, which is awesome. And that's one of the important things to me is just how vibrant the colors are. And these are very vibrant. Next one, another Amazing Spider-Man here. This is 61, starting to get a little higher in the numbers now. This is actually the first cover appearance of Gwen Stacy, believe it or not. And it's not much of a cover appearance. I mean, you can see she's just kind of tiny in the bottom of the book there, but yeah, it is her first cover appearance. A little corner wear on this one, but I'll tell you, the gloss on this, it looks like it came off the newsstand like yesterday, which is pretty amazing. So all these books at some point I'll get graded. We'll see what they come back as. I think a lot of them could easily come back maybe 6 to 7 range. That would be awesome. So we'll see. All right, the next one, we'll leave Spider-Man behind, but stick with Marvel. Journey into Mystery, number 107, The Mighty Thor. And this is the first appearance of the Gray Gargoyle, really high grade copy of this book, considering the time frame again. And yeah, you got some spine ticks and a little wear like some of the other books had, but really the colors pop for the most part. Everything is just really sharp with this book. And I can't wait to see what this one comes back as. Okay, let's move on to a little bit of DC. And we'll do Action Comics. This is 339. I love these 1960s like Action Comics covers, especially when the colors are bright. Like I said, like this, you have Brainiac, Supergirl, Superman on the cover. Looks really awesome. I don't know if that's a printing error. At first I thought maybe something was spilled on it that faded the color, but it just happens on the green, and you see a little bit of traces of that up here too. So maybe it's actually just a printing error there, but you got your little spine wear, sure. But overall, beautiful looking book. Stick with another Silver Age Action Comics. This one is 368. Another really solid cover here. I just love these like 1960 Superman books. They're awesome. But you know what I love more than Silver Age Superman? Golden Age Superman. And I did get a Golden Age Superman book. This one's pretty amazing. Probably the book of the haul, honestly. Yep. Superman 25 from 1943. This is crazy. So yes, the seller, like I said, had mostly Silver Age, but some Golden Age books here or there. I was able to pick a few up. The video I showed last time, I believe I showed The Strange Adventures number 10. That was from the same seller. This is even more amazing than that. Okay. Condition. It's real good. Here's the story with these books, though. You never know, especially if you're buying from a collector who might not be necessarily an expert. We don't know. Or maybe someone could try to pull a fast one from time to time. It's hard for me to pay like full price for a book like this because there could be restoration. I don't know. And the seller might not know. And I was not willing to pay a whole lot for this book. But at the same time, you don't want to let this go, right? When you have the opportunity. So I did not spend a whole lot on this book. It's worth a lot more if truly it doesn't have restoration. And I'll tell you, I looked closely at it. Now, I don't have a black light. I'm not CGC. But I can't find any restoration. I would think that I would see some sheen differences. If there was color touch, I couldn't find anything like that. The staples look original. They look like maybe they were cleaned a little bit at some point. Or at least one of them does. But it doesn't feel like it's a replacement staple to me. You do have a little bit of pencil marking here that somebody looked like they tried to erase with an eraser. You do have, of course, your edge wear, corner wear. It's an old book, right? It's from 1943. It has that type of wear, but nothing like unusual, and the colors are beautiful on this thing. So, yeah, I'm going to get this graded. We'll see. Fingers crossed, it's first off not restored. Secondly, if it is, well, okay, I didn't pay all that much for it. I probably paid what I would pay if it was restored, so I can't complain. And if not, though, and it can come back maybe as a 4, 5 even, that would be pretty sweet. So we'll see. Time will tell. I mean, I'll send this off. I probably won't send this off immediately, but pretty soon, and then we'll know in the future, right? Okay, so speaking of CGC, let's talk a little bit about what I got back from CGC. All right, and we'll begin with a book that I picked up from eBay. And this is actually a book I already had a CGC copy of, but it looked high grade. The pictures weren't amazing, but I wanted to take a risk on it because the price was very, very good. So, it is Cry for Dawn, #1. Now, if you're not familiar with this series, basically this particular book came out in April of '89, and the series went into the early 90s. It was a horror anthology series, a black and white indie book. And it had a low print run. It was one of those kind of 80s, 90s low print run indie books. Maybe not as exciting as some of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles books or The Crow or something like that. But it kind of is within that vein. Collectors that collect those type of things many times will collect this. The character on the cover is most well known to later go on to have a number of her own miniseries and series, and that is Dawn. Now, back then, Dawn was just kind of a mascot. She isn't in the story. You can see here, this is technically her first appearance, but she's just on the cover here. And even though that character is kind of faded out a little bit, although still shows up in books today, kind of a spec book on one hand, but also a great piece of like indie history too. They're pretty graphic horror stories if you've never read them, and very extreme because it's from the extreme time period, right? As you move into the 90s. But they are unique. They're really cool. So I do like this original series quite a bit, and I do try to collect it when I can. So this one, it had some problems when I got the book. There was a binding issue in the top left corner, which is pretty common with these Cry for Dawn #1s. You do see them in a lot of copies, but it did look like maybe that binding issue was made worse with a little bit of a tear. On the back, and this I couldn't see in the pictures. I did see the binding issue, but on the back, there was some scuffing that I couldn't really tell in the pictures. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I was hoping for like a 9.6 candidate or something like that. It turns out it's probably more like a 9.2 or 9.0 candidate. So what did it end up being in the end? 9.0. So yeah, not as exciting as I would have hoped, but I didn't pay a lot for this book. I was like, you know what? 9.0 for a rare book from 1989. That's just kind of a classic horror book. Sure. Why not? I'll take it. So I'll show you my 9.6 that I have. This is the copy I already had. And the funny part is this copy doesn't present as well as the previous copy. Just because you'll notice like there's just some spine ticks here, you know, a little more like spine wear that this book doesn't have. And this has a binding error too. Maybe not as bad, but it doesn't have the scuffing on the back. And the scuffing's minor. I mean, I'll show you real quick. It might not be even easy to see on camera, but just little spots of scuffing here, like it was on top of another book for a long time, or moving next to another book in a box or something. So, yeah, it's not major, but it's not that distracting actually, but enough to take the grade down. 9.6 though, I guess I'm going to have to be happy with that. I was kind of hoping maybe I would stumble on a 9.8, but it didn't happen. But that's fine. Okay, now my next group of books are also from the same series. They're from Cry for Dawn. And these I picked up in a marketplace app, not the same seller I've been talking about, but a different seller. This seller actually looked like he was getting out of selling, and he just had some stuff left on his site. I happened to come across these 4 books that were signed by Joseph Listener, who was the artist and writer of many of the stories in these books, and creator of the character Dawn, and he does own the character's rights to this day, I believe. And This was actually signed back in '08, so a while ago. So I saw the pictures of these 4 books. And I said to myself, okay, you got these slabbed books that are witness signatures. Very hard to find witness signatures for Cry for Dawn because so many of these books were signed in the 90s before they had witness signatures, right? So you get a lot of green labels and stuff. Very hard to find like really the yellow labels unless somebody happened to get it signed recently, because Joseph Lisner does still sign a lot. And he did sign a lot in the 90s. They're out there, but they're hard to come by. And I figured if this was slabbed in '08, it was probably never pressed. And the slabs were filthy. Filthy. I looked at the pictures. I couldn't tell if the dirt was on the inside, the outside, if it had seeped in through the sides, or if it was on the cover, or if it was on the front of the slab. But I took a chance since the seller was willing to sell each of them for $25 a piece, including shipping. All right, so for $25, I'm going to take a chance. And I did. So Cry for Dawn #1, second printing, signed by Joseph Lisner in '08. I sent this into CGC to have them press and clean it because it was a signature series book. They have to do that to keep the gold label. And then I had them regrade it just to see what would happen. This was a 9.2. Not a bad grade. The thing looked disgusting though. And when I got the slabs, yes, indeed, the dirt had seeped in through the seams. It must have been kept in like a storage locker or basement or attic or something, because the dirt seeped in and there was just caked on dirt between the inner well and the outer well. It was nasty. So looks beautiful now in a new case. Did we get a 9.2? We got a 9.4, so it got a bump up. So that kind of confirmed my suspicion that these books were probably never pressed. There were probably some spine ticks. I really couldn't, it was so dirty, I couldn't see for sure actually when I got them. So I was taking a risk even doing this because maybe there was nothing in there. Maybe the grades would have come back the same or lower. But this case, we got a bump of 1 grade. I'm real happy with that. And again, these are such low print run books. To have them signed and verified, I think is just really sweet. All right, here we go. Cry for Dawn #2. This one had the lowest grade out of the 4. This was an 8.5. So it was a white cover. I imagine it might have been a little dirty. I could see some spine ticks on this one that weren't really color breaking, but what happened? Well, let's see. We got it cleaned up. We got it pressed. 9.6. That was crazy. So we got a bump from 8.5 to 9.6 on this book. Made me really happy about this particular investment when it comes to spending only $25 on it. Yeah, kind of awesome. So that was incredible. Let's move on to the third book out of the group of 4. All right, Cry for Dawn #3, as we keep going here. That was the first printing too of #2, by the way. This one, I believe, only does have 1 printing. So anyway, signed, again, right there, you can see. And this one was a 9.4. Now, this book and the next book were 9.4s. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from them because 9.4 is pretty high, right? Especially for such an old book. And I figured, well, if I get lucky, maybe I get a little bump. If I'm still a 9.4, that's fine, right? Like that, no problems, no worries. So what happened? 9.6. So we got a bump. Yep. Went up 2 points or 1 grade really. And yeah, there you go. 9.6 sign #3. So let's look at the last one. This is Cry for Dawn #4. And I had to, add some extra sticky notes on there to keep the video safe for work. So sorry about that. But anyway, it's falling off. Don't want to give it away. Okay. So #4, like I said, it was a 9.4. There's the signature down there. What do we get? 9.8. 9.8 this came back as. So there it is. A 9.8 signed book from '08 that I guess was never pressed. Graded as a 9.4 at the time. Someone threw it somewhere horrible and it was filthy and dirty, and now it's cleaned up, looking awesome. Came back as a 9.8. That's an amazing find, I think. So sadly, the seller actually had #5, but had already sold it in the past, probably months and months before I found it. But I would have loved to get that #5 and do the same thing with it. But hey, what can you do, right? They got one. We got the second printing of 1, and then 2, 3, and 4. So there you are. All white pages too. Phenomenal. Okay, I got one more book back from this CGC group. And it's another book from the 80s. This one is the Omega Man 3. Of course, the first appearance of Lobo. Awesome, awesome book. If you don't have a copy of this book, you know, it's still within reach. Even though Lobo is a character that feels like he could be used in a big way at any time. And he's a classic character at this point. You can still get high-grade raw copies of this book, typically for under $100, or sometimes well over $100. Luckily, I've seen them go for some people around $60 range, sometimes for really high-grade raw books. Sometimes even cheaper. So This one I got a great deal on. Funny story with this one too. Bought this on eBay. Seller was selling 1 through 10, and the seller didn't sell like any comic books really. So nobody was paying attention to this. And you always take a risk. When you have a seller who doesn't usually sell comics, you don't know how they're going to be packaged. Good feedback though on the other sales, so I felt comfortable trying to bid. Got all 10 books for like, I think after shipping was like $34. All right, so awesome. The seller said that he thought this book was a 9.6. And there was a little bit of a non-color breaking bend in it. And yeah, when I got the book, there was, just like it was described. However, here's the thing. The seller did not package the books very well at all. So the only way I can describe this is if you remember back in the 80s or 90s, if you bought like dress clothes at like the JCPenney and they put them in the little like flimsy cardboard box for you and put them in the bag. That was basically what these books were in. They were in this flimsy cardboard box with like the parcel wrapping around it with the address written on it and stuff. So then the post office went ahead and shoved it in my mailbox. And somehow, some way, I guess the other 9 books protected this one. It didn't get damaged and all that. So I got very, very lucky. And yeah, it kind of is what it is, I guess. That could have been real bad. But again, I didn't pay much. If you're going to take a risk, don't pay full price, right? Take the risk, but keep your investment in it low. And that's what I did, and it paid off in this case because the book didn't get damaged. I saw that bend the seller was talking about. Got it cleaned, so it didn't really need to be cleaned, but got it pressed and graded. What did we get? 9.8. So yeah, that was a close call. Almost not a 9.8, but yeah, the book is beautiful. The thing with these books too, notice the $1 cover price, considering this was 1983. That's expensive. These are on really nice paper, so they're pretty durable compared to other books from 1983. If you were to buy just your average newsprint books, this one is a little bit nicer, a little more sturdy. So you do find a lot of high grades of this book out there. 9.8s, not all the time, but you do see a lot of 9.6s, 9.4s, 9.2s and such. And they can still, when you're in the 9s, can be a little bit of a costly book. But my recommendation is try to do what I did. Try to find a nice raw copy of the book. A lot of them are in good shape out there. They're not too expensive right now. This book is only going to go up, and if you can get it graded and you get lucky, it doesn't even have to be a 9.8. Get a 9.6 or something like that. Definitely worth it. I was only expecting a 9.6. I just was really happy to see this came back as a 9.8. So really cool book there. And that's the haul. So I have a lot more to show you. It's hard sometimes to make these videos because my primary channel is my Magic the Gathering channel. I put a lot of time into that channel. So whenever I have a moment to breathe, I try to do one of these videos. I have a lot of stuff to show you, hopefully in the future, but hope you had a good time looking at these books with me, and still want to engage in this community as much as I can. Usually my engagement is through auctions. I'm always watching auctions. I'm not always bidding on YouTube auctions, but I'm always watching. I haven't won anything from the New York Warriors, but I always watch their auctions. Same thing with All About Comics. I always watch them, but I don't think I've won anything there. White Whale, he's been doing a couple auctions now. I've been keeping an eye on. Big Lion Cat has been doing some cool auctions. The Great Legend, I've won quite a few things on the Great Legend auctions, so Great Legend's awesome to watch. And also Alex the Comic Hoarder, when he does his auctions, I've been able to win some things there too. So if you don't watch those, I would check those out. You might be able to stumble on something like this. Who knows? So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.